All right, so welcome back to another video. And in this video, we are going to be taking a look at some details, effects, and mist. And really what that means is we're going to be going back to the paintbrush tool right here. And well, first let me say that if you are at this point, and if you're not exactly happy with what you did in the last video, and you think you can keep going with it, what I can suggest is you can go back to your paintbrush tool and just keep repeating the define and create depth video, then go on to the fine mixing video, and you can just keep switching back and forth, doing a full coat with the paintbrush tool, doing another coat with the blending brush tool, and slowly you will get more and more and more detail. Okay, and yeah, you can just keep doing that and doing that. But I'm going to skip that for right now and go right to details and effects. Just standard way of doing this. And pretty much in this video, yeah, we're essentially going to be doing details. And um, this can include things such as maybe, I mean, I had some kind of fungus kind of fauna here. Maybe you want to add something that you didn't quite get. You can do that here, but pretty much we're going to be working with a pretty small brush, okay? And we're going to be working with the paintbrush right away. So highlights. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to go over to our color picker tool right here. Just click this square right here, and you're going to want pure white, just like that. And just going to hit OK, and we're just going to be adding highlights. And by highlights, I mean, if we look right here, we have a highlight right here, and it's just this bright part. We have highlights all over the place, and pretty much we want to make this more and more apparent. And this depends on your light source. Now, some people get stressed about light source, like lighting, like, oh, where's my light source, blah, blah, blah. A lot of artists will say, okay, well, if your light source is here, your light's coming in here. Say we had a sun here, and it's going to be coming in this way. We had an arrow here shining on this mountain. So it's coming this way. But, I also have light shining here, and we have shadows here. So that makes it not kind of weird, right? Here's the thing. You can have multiple light sources. Anything goes. Just really think about this as ambient lighting. Anything you put down, you can make it work. You can say, oh, well, these rocks are these spiky things, they're glowing. I don't know. We definitely have a light source here. Maybe there's just weird light coming. You don't have to have an explanation. That's what's so great about this. You can say there's 2 suns, 5 suns, no suns. I mean, this is a whole world, and you make the rules. I know I'm sounding like Bob Ross right now, but it's true. I mean, this is imaginary. This is imaginative as it gets. I mean, you can do really anything. Like you can say, "Oh, well, this glows." You don't have to make it really make sense in terms of lighting. Like here, we have some weird things going on. We have light here, but lighting is being emerged here. So shouldn't this be lit up? So I might add some rim lighting here, highlights, but so I'll just show you that. Pretty much, we're going to be taking a small brush, and you can just go right on the edge here. Okay, I'm at 100 opacity. That might be a little crazy. I like to bring that down a little bit, depending on your sensitivity on your tablet. And let's say, the light is erupting here and it's coming, bouncing off of here, creating this rim lighting effect. And you want to look for a lot of rim lighting. That is it can really make your image pop a whole ton. So I'm just going in here and I'm just adding in these highlights right on the edge. And rim lighting is just adding it right on the edge. I probably have some, we have a lot of light coming from the sky. It is daytime. So there's going to be light overhead. So I'm just going to add a little bit of lighting right there. Just kind of go up to the edges. And really, you want to make your best judgment. I'm going to give you guidelines. I mean, that's really what this whole course is. It's guidelines. It's in art. It's not really rules. It's guidelines. And you could look at it as rules. And then eventually, you want to start to break those rules in an efficient way, of course. But what I'm doing right now, I'm not worrying too much about where my light source is. I'm just really just using what I already have. So we have like light up here. And as I've said before, you want to keep this in mind when creating depth. You want your lightest lights, less contrast, less detail in the background. And as you come forward, you want more detail and more contrast leaning towards the darks. Okay, so for example here, you'll notice that I'm not using straight up black right on these shadows. I'm using like a light pink as my shadows. And that's because this is way, way, way in the background. There is atmosphere between you and the mountains. It's not just nothing. There is actual stuff. And the more and more distance there is, the more there is going to be atmosphere. It's going to build up. That all that atmosphere is going to build up and create that blue effect. I'll talk about that in a sec, but right now we want to focus on highlights. And you can see I'm just going along here, going along the edges, just like that, just so we can get some really nice highlights. Really just have that nice balance of contrast all over the place. Okay? And I mean, it's just line work, really. I mean, I'm sort of just doing outlines, but where you place it is very dependent on what you have. But generally, right where your lights are, you're gonna want to put those rim lights. I would say you're probably gonna want to stay away from the foreground with the highlights. And you could put a little bit. You can put a little bit. But don't overdo it. These are just details. We're not doing any major things here. We're just saying this pure white. And if you think that it's too white, you can always, like I think we kind of overdid it here. We can just sample the color around it, and we can just kind of have it fade off just like that. And as you see, I kind of got a little bit thicker there. You can add some nice thick highlights if you want to do that. Okay. And yeah, that's essentially what I'm doing right here. And I might fade it out just a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of a darker highlight, but still have it be a highlight. Just add it to these rocks right here because we have this interesting kind of effect here. I'm going to show you how to add kind of a glowing effect. That is, we're going to be going into our soft round tool or brush into this quite frequently. But right now we are just focusing on adding in highlights, and I'm probably going to speed it up just a little bit here. Okay, so I've just added very quickly. I just added a lot of rim lighting, and this is very similar if you've ever done dodging and burning in photography, which is just essentially just going in with a brush and making your lights lighter and your darks darker. And right now we're focusing on highlights. So I expanded my brush a little bit, getting in a little bit of larger areas, and I've been sampling too, just to match up the kind of the color. Not everything is going to be pure white with the highlights. I know I said that, but you can sample around that color just by holding Alt, and you can create these lighter areas. So just like that. And don't worry about if it blobs up again. We can go back with the blending brush tool, which I think I am going to do that. So yeah, just gonna keep doing this a little bit right up here. You don't have to overdo it. You can do as much as you want. Whatever you think is the necessary amount to put in. Let me just go ahead and check what we've done. So I go to my history, go up here, and yeah. So you can see, yeah, that looks much better. You know, just looking at the highlights, not crazy dramatic change, but definitely enough to definitely noticeable. So those highlights are definitely important. Now, what we can do is we can go ahead and do sort of the opposite. We can start adding in some darks, and this would be burning, if you've done dodging and burning. So very similar, and we just want to go in. See, this is a little bit too dark. I can lighten that up, but you know, I'm just going to sample sort of a darker color. Trying to be careful. You don't want to have too many darks in the background layers. You know, you want to keep most of the darkness in the foreground, as that's going to have the most contrast, most detail, and least amount of atmosphere between you and the grounds. So I'm just going here. I'm just sampling along the way. So I'm just picking a dark color. So that's a pretty dark color right here. Fits the color palette. And I'm just going to go here. You'll notice I'm not using straight up like black. I'm actually have the shadows have color. And I mean, I'm just sampling around the color like I just showed you. And just adding that, like the shadows will have color. Now the shadows will just be straight up black, like almost never. And typically they will be a cool color. You know, your highlights are usually warmer colors, and your darks are usually cooler colors, as in blue, purple, cyan, green. Well, green can go up either way. That's a interesting color, but I won't get into that right now. But you know, keeping these darks here, lots of contrast. And I'm just gonna keep going with this. Alrighty, so that should be good enough for now. Let me just check my history, see what we did, and yeah, awesome. We have a whole lot more contrast. It looks much less flat. Yeah, so I mean, that was really just a whole dodge and burn. Getting those super white highlights in, and getting a little bit of some darks, just defining that just a little bit more. And if you want, this is an optional step. What you can do is you can grab your blending brush tool, and you can just kind of blend those highlights in just like that. Or if you like those kind of, some people like this kind of mark making. I like to give it a little bit of blend just like that. And you can just go around and use this and, you know, manipulate it how you want. You know, you have all the freedom here, and it's, your landscape is going to look much different from mine. Whole lot different, especially if you used a different image, which I encourage, because you never really know what you're going to get. So I'm just going to blend that there. There we go. That looks good. Just like that. Yeah. So, yeah, I like to blend it because it can keep everything unified all together, you know, using the same kind of stroke along the whole image. And, you know, you'll notice I work on like a little bit here, a little bit here. I work it in sections. I work it, but the whole thing, like I don't render this completely and I leave everything out. You want to work with the whole image. All right, so this looks pretty good like this. What I want to show you is now I don't use this technique a lot anymore, but you'll definitely run into this situation sometimes, and it's this idea of hard objects. And this I use it a lot in my time lapses, which I include in the course if you haven't seen already. Um, but pretty much, if you want a nice hard edge, one of the best ways to do that is just use your selection tool or the lasso tool. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the lasso tool. And let's say I want some, I don't know, pebbles or rocks or something like that. Pretty much what we can do is we can just go ahead and draw a little pebble or a little shape like that. And once we draw one, we can hold down shift until we see that plus button on the lasso tool. And what I like to do is I like to hold down and use my pen, and I like to just do kind of random shapes like this. And I'm not really thinking about it. I'm just kind of putting down these little tiny circles, trying to get organic little shapes like this. And I'm just going wherever I think, like, okay, I could put like a little pebble right there. And yeah, this technique works really, really great, and you'll definitely maybe might use it. I definitely use it a lot, or I used to use it a lot. I don't use it too much anymore. This technique really already establishes a lot of the shapes you need, but this is definitely very useful to know. So as you can see the marching ants, the selection area, and just these are going to be rocks. Okay, so that looks good like that. Actually, let me just add a little bit more over here, kind of fade it out. Okay, so now that we have all that selected, we can go over to our paintbrush tool, and what we want to do, we're gonna want to add some sort of highlight. So I'm just gonna select this. This seems pretty bright. And all we want to do, make our brush really, really big and just paint over it just like that. And then if I hold Control D to deselect, all of a sudden we have those shapes filled in, and we have these kind of pebbles like this. Now, if you're not happy with how that looks, I know it can look a little weird with all the blended areas here, but works really great for like if you're doing something really quick. But if you're like, okay, maybe that's a little too bright, what you can do is you can hit Control Z, and that'll make you go back to the selection. Grab your paintbrush tool again, and let's say maybe that was a little bit too bright, or we can have it kind of a gradient here. So I'm just gonna bring that down just a little bit, and just gonna go over with my brush very lightly. That's still a little too bright. Bring it down, and you can just keep making adjustments like this. And we can also do is just sample the colors around that area, and sort of just tap it in just like that. And it can be very hard to see with all the selection, but I can just hold Control D. All right. Yeah, that's looking much better than it just did. But, if you're still not happy with it, it still does look a little weird. But, you can always grab your blending brush tool and just give it just a little touch. And as you can see, it gets a little blended. It doesn't look too, kind of defeats the purpose of the hard object, but it is a good way of getting things in there. All right, so that looks good like that. Just kind of blend it in if you want, that sort of thing. And I can just keep going back with my paintbrush. I can just keep adding in more and more contrast, just like that. So I think that's going to conclude for that, let's just take a look at our history one more time just to see what we did. You know, details, just like that. And in the next video, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be taking a look at mist, fog. Okay, so that is very, very, very awesome. Very, very cool. And what that's going to do, see, this is looking a little bit flat right now. And the mist is going to allow us to separate these grounds. And I will be talking about it a lot more in the next video.